Hi, Achim from InnerSpace Explorers. Today it's a follow-up video on my last video, which was about the wing size, and there was actually questions and comments that made me realize we need to talk a little bit about the weight situation as well. Before I get into the topic, I would like to share some fan mail with you, which is always great and something I really enjoy. It's always a little bit of Christmas. And I received a message, a letter in a box from Jesse from Seoul in Korea. Dear Achim, I hope this letter finds you well. I had a very bad initial dive training, and after a couple of incidents, I was ready to quit the sport. Then a friend pointed me towards ISE, and I started to watch your videos, which opened my eyes. Later, I started from scratch again and did my ISE Rec course, followed by a BOE, and now I enjoy diving every weekend the way it should be. Thanks so much for the time and effort you take to share your knowledge. I realize you travel a lot and you're a bit of a gadget person. How did you figure that out? So I hope you like my gift. All the best from Seoul, Jesse. So Jesse sent me this, I'm not sure if that's the right term in English, toilet bag, personalized with my name. I don't know if you can see that in the video. Super nice piece, all leather. So yeah, I love it. Thank you very much. Not exactly sure how you came up with this, but I really like it. So thank you very much, and I'm really happy you liked our training and my videos, and safe diving. So now let's get into the video, and if you like my video content, please hit the subscribe button and click that little bell so you get a notification when I upload new content, which is normally once a week. And now let's talk about the weight in combination with that wing size. So if you saw the last video, it was what wing size to pick. And I got this comment, and that was like under the videos, there was more stuff that came in through various channels. But Frank wrote, where's the positive buoyancy of dry suit and undergarment being accounted for? Depending on the undergarment, it can be quite significant, even when soaked, for example, BC 400. I agree on a smaller wing being unable to float the equipment when full, but I do not see a use case where I would have to float my equipment in a cave environment, or did I miss something? Open water is a different story. And then Dean added, and if the dry suit floods early in the dive. All right, good point. Let's talk about it. All right, so the question was that basically the concern of that comment was that we only talk about the equipment and the ability of the wing to lift that equipment, but in this equation, the positive buoyancy of the dry suit and the loss of that buoyancy in an accident, for example a flooded suit, is not accounted for. So first of all, practical example, something I had not so long ago. I was wreck diving in Norway, and we were diving from a rib, and I think it was like 80 meters of water, and we all came up, and obviously we could not climb back on that rib with our gear, so it was simply not possible. The ladder was not designed for that, so we had to don our equipment and then go on the boat, and the boat crew was lifting in the equipment over the side of the rib, which is always a bit of a pain in the ass. So there's one guy, I can't remember, I think it was like a double 18 or something, 2 stages, etc. So he gave his stages up, and then he took his gear off, inflated his wing fully, and his gear was gone. And so it's a not funny for him. On the other hand, like, you should have tested that before. So the question, when do I take off my entire setup and make it float in a cave environment? First of all, this is not a cave diving channel, and I do not like that separation. Cave diving, wreck diving, recreational open water diving, whatever. I mean, I want my gear to be able to float, because obviously during a cave dive it's pretty unlikely that I take my gear off. But even if I would create some weird scenario which probably never happens and which you never want to do, for some reason you want to move your equipment when it's not on your back. So I don't know, you want to push it through somewhere, you want to go in a dry passage and you want to push it somewhere on land, whatever. I want my gear to float. I don't want to take my gear off, for example, also like in a spring pool or somewhere. Don't want to take my gear off and boom, it goes to the bottom. That doesn't make any sense. So that's the first point. The second thing is that when I made this video, unfortunately I left this all on my whiteboard here, so we can go back to that. This was about the wing size, and as I just explained, I want my wing to be able to compensate the weight of my gear in the beginning of the dive when it's the heaviest. And of course, we said worst case scenario here was minus 21.5 kilograms negative, and we want our wing to compensate for that. Of course, we do not need that wing to compensate for that to be neutral in the water. But that I explained that in the beginning. We have the diver that is positive, that is neutral, and then with the wing and the undergarment and everything is positive, right? So I don't know if you missed that part of the video, but obviously you need to subtract the positive buoyancy of the suit, the undergarment, whatever, from these 21.5 kilograms. Otherwise you would be like, I mean, extremely heavy, right? I mean, you would have to go on the water and almost fully inflate your wing to gain neutral buoyancy, which obviously you don't. So, but if you look at the first video, there was a point when I said, do you want to do a dive with that type of gear in a wetsuit, for example? No, you don't want to, because you don't want to be in, I don't know, 40, 50 meters of water in a wetsuit that's completely compressed, that doesn't offer any buoyancy at all, and then you have to swim all of that up because your wing fails. That's one of the reasons. Then you want a dry suit for backup buoyancy, so to speak. So depending on what type of suit you dive, so let's say you dive a tri-laminate, which itself doesn't have any buoyancy characteristics, plus a heavy undergarment like the BZ 400 that Frank mentioned in his comment. So maybe you have 15, 16, something like that, kilograms of positive buoyancy when you're in the water. So let's take that as an example. Let me just grab a pen. So let's say this is plus 16, okay? So we have minus 21, so we have plus 16, so that gives us minus 5.5 kilograms in the beginning of the dive. So obviously we would still not need any weights or anything, we could still reasonably easy descend. So if you look at that, if we're empty, that would be minus 12. So now we do plus 16. So that means we have a plus of 4 kilograms positive. And this is now the amount of weight that we would have to add to that configuration. So obviously not 4 kilos, because that would make us just neutral in the beginning, in the end of the dive, if everything's empty, which again will not happen. I mean, you will have some sort of gas left, hopefully, if you did a proper gas planning. So you would probably add 5 kilograms to that configuration to compensate for exactly this. So if you flood your gear, because that was also in the comment section, if you flood your gear early in the dive, so you jump in, you, I don't know, rip off your neck seal or something like that, and you flood it, that would basically be a video on its own, because it's a question that comes up a lot of times, and it's like, I flood my dry suit and then I get super heavy and I'm sucked down right to the bottom of the sea. Is that true? Did you ever try that? So there's plenty of people watching this this channel. So if you had this experience, if you flooded your dry suit completely, please put in the comment section what your experience was. Simply spoken, there's not much happening. So first of all, I've rarely seen a completely flooded dry suit. I mean, in the meaning of there's no air in there anymore and it's just full of water. And then we have to think about it. It's full of water. How much does that water weigh? I mean, how much weight does that water add? It doesn't add any weight. We're in water, so if it fills with, I mean, doesn't do anything. So the weight or the additional positive negative buoyancy that the event would create is because of the loss of the gas in the dry suit. So now we had this in another video and I put the link in the description. If you use your dry suit for buoyancy, then you have a problem, and that's simply wrong. Your buoyancy device is your wing. So your dry suit should only be filled that much that you don't have a squeeze and that you're warm. So that's a very small amount of gas. Think about that 6 cubic foot argon tank that we have on our equipment. And there's also a video which I also put a link in the description when we talk about that. So if we would have to have a lot of gas in our suit to compensate for weight, we would have to use a lot of gas, which we don't have. I can do 2-3 dives with that 6 cubic feet tank in the 40-50 meter range, and I still have gas left in that tank, so it's just minimal. So if I really flood my dry suit, and for some reason I'm standing in the water column, I rip off my neck sealant, all the gas in my suit's going out and is replaced by water. Maybe that's 1 or 2 kilos, maybe 3 kilos, but it's not significant. If that is a significant issue, then something's entirely wrong in the configuration. Then you use your suit for buoyancy, and then you have way too much gas in your suit, which is really hard to control, because if it shifts in the suit, it brings you out of trim and it causes all kind of issues. So, but that's a complete different story. But that's the reason why I did not really get into that, because it simply is an unrealistic scenario, at least an unrealistic scenario if your configuration is correctly set up. I hope that answers the question, and if not, please keep asking, put it in the comment section, drop me mails, drop me messages, and presents, and I'm happy to talk about it. But just, I hope, I initially in the first video did not want to bring it in because I wanted to focus on the size of the wing, and I thought this is clear. So I hope that is the addition you guys needed. Right, hope you like that. If so, please give me thumbs up. Questions, comments, as I just said, put it in the comment section. Stay safe, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye. And a quick update on the Thestis, because a lot of people ask me, like, what's going on with the project? Well, the project's going on. Obviously, there's not much at the moment. I mean, we figured out where it is. You remember the last video? So the thing now is to actually go there and have a look, which I will do in April. And in the meantime, there will be 1 or 2 videos where I'll explain a little bit how we do that, logistics, etc., etc., etc. But there's no major research or anything to be done in the meantime. And so no worries, project's continuing. As I promised, I'll share this in all the details with you. But yeah, we just wait for a little bit better weather, and then in April we will go there and start looking for it and maybe already dive it. Alright, take care. See you. Bye-bye.